Welcome to King Kong Kids Storytime. We are reading Ali and the Golden Eagle by Wayne Grover. Now, as you may remember, when we left off last time, Mr. Wayne had been doing a practice down the side of the cliff because they were going to try and get a baby eagle or an eaglet. But when he said up, it went down and really fast. So, Chapter 7 Ali Saves My Life. Suddenly, I felt a bone-jarring jerk as I was snapped to a stop. I was hanging upside down, suspended by my harness. For a few moments, I just hung there, staring down at the valley floor, several thousand feet below. Regaining my composure, I managed to work myself upright and to look up the sheer cliff face. I could see that I had fallen perhaps 200 feet and that the rope was now taut. As I was trying to figure out my next move, uncertain if the winch would let go again, I heard Ali's voice calling down to me, "Mr. Wayne, the machine broke. Are you alive?" I had to laugh. Beyond being bruised from the harness, I was perfectly fine. I looked above me and saw Ali's head peering over the canyon rib. "Yes, Ali, I am fine. What happened to the machine?" I knew I was still in great danger. I could drop again if Ali did something wrong. "The handle that I whined with broke off. The machine let you go. But I stuck the metal rod into the place you showed me, and it stopped moving." Ali had acted with lightning speed. His quick thinking had saved my life. Now I was more than 300 feet down the canyon wall, with no other way up than to climb, using the rope brakes that I carried. It would be an exhausting procedure, foot by foot. "Ali, don't touch the machine. I will have to climb up by hand. Do you understand?" His small voice came down to me. "Yes, Mr. Wayne, I will not touch the machine." Shouting that distance was almost as tiring as trying to climb out. So I made a mental note to bring walkie-talkies the next time and teach Ali how to use them. I took out 2 rope brakes and attached them to the rope that went from my harness up the cliff. I knew that with the safety rod locking the winch gears, I would have a secure anchor. So I started to climb. I slid one rope lock up about a foot, locked it, and hoisted myself upward. Then I had to lock the second brake and move the first farther up the rope and lock it again. For half an hour I repeated the slow and tiring process, gaining about 75 feet. My arms ached and my ribs were sore from the quick stop in the harness. At the rate I was going, I figured it would take me 3 or 4 hours to get back up. I shuddered at the thought of not making it to the top before dark. As I continued to climb, I felt the rope move a little. It went up just a bit, then down. I felt like a yo-yo. I didn't know what was happening. My heart froze at the thought that Ali was trying to fix the winch. If he made a mistake, I could go hurtling down at any moment. Then, with a slow, steady lift, I was being pulled up the cliff. It was too smooth to be the winch. It did not have the short rope pulsations the winch created with its steel teeth. "Ali, what is happening?" There was no answer. I tried again. "Ali! Ali! I continued to be moved up, up, up. Whatever was pulling me up was doing a great job. Within 5 minutes, my head was near the cliff edge. Up, up, up. Suddenly, my head rose above the rim, and I was looking out across the grassy slope that led away from the canyon. In the distance, I saw Ali with an Arabian man who was leading a camel. The camel was attached to my rope, pulling, while its master was switching it with a small stick. Ali was shouting encouragement to them both. Neither had seen me come over the canyon edge, and I was still being dragged by the camel. It was such a funny sight that I broke into laughter. I was being dragged across the rocky plateau by a camel, a boy, and a Bedouin. I stood up and disconnected my snap link, freeing myself from the rope. It was only when the rope suddenly went loose that Ali looked back and saw me. He waved furiously and ran to me as fast as his legs would carry him. His small face was one big smile as he said, "I saw that Bedouin with his camels, so I asked for his help. We attached the rope, and his camel pulled you up." Ali, your quick action and the Bedouin's help may have saved my life. This is a day to remember. Now I want to thank the camel driver. We walked toward the man and his 5 camels. When we got to him, he was winding up my rope into a neat circle on the ground. "Allah be with you, my friend," I said. "You have done me a great service." The old Bedouin had a face like leather, with deep creases running from his nose to his chin. He was dressed in a dark, foot-length robe and wore a black head cover held in place by a leather band. Over one shoulder, he carried a long leather belt, heavy with tarnished brass bullets. In his black waist tie, he carried a sharply curved dagger with a horn handle that was trimmed with gold. He reached out his hand to me and bowed his head slightly. "I greet you in the name of Allah and the people of my tribe. When this young man told me of your situation, I was pleased to help. I am deeply in your debt. Thank you for the help," I said. "I can see you are a Westerner. Are you English?" "No, I am an American. I live in the walled compound about 15 kilometers that way," I said, pointing. The old Bedouin squinted as he looked in the direction I was pointing. "Ah, yes, I know the place. It is where the big noise comes from. I do not like that noise. It bothers our sheep and goats when we graze them nearby." I knew the man was talking about the diesel generator that ran 24 hours a day to supply electricity for our camp. The quiet stillness of the desert was broken by the loud sound of the big generator, but it was something that had to be. Our camp was 30 miles from the nearest Arabian town, but the wandering desert Bedouins with their mobile tent camps often set up housekeeping nearby to let their animals graze on the green grass created by our camp's water runoff. "One day we will leave the desert, and your animals will graze in peace again," I assured him. "As Allah wills it. Now I must be on my way," he answered as he switched his camels into a trot. "Thanks again for your help," I shouted above the soft thunder of camels' feet. "Mr. Wayne, I do not know what happened to the machine, but it made a noise and started running fast." "Let's go and see what went wrong, Ali." As I examined the winch, I saw that the crank handle had broken at the weld, leaving Ali nothing with which to control my descent. Ali had done the only thing that could stop my fall by pushing the safety rod into the wheel cogs, stopping them from meshing. "I need to take this to the place I live to get it fixed, Ali. Would you like to come along?" "Oh, yes, that would be fine." "Okay, let's go." I removed the crank handle from the winch mechanism and threw it into the back of the rover. Ali, you're going to see many new things today, I said as we drove across the plateau toward the compound. After about 5 miles, we came to a dusty road that led to the paved route from Abha to Khamis Mushiat. As I drove onto the main road, there was a big tanker truck roaring down the highway. Ali's eyes widened as he saw the big gas rig speeding toward us. "What is that?" he asked in amazement. "That is a truck. It carries fuel to feed the other cars and trucks you will see today." He tried. "Truck, Ali, truck," I repeated. "Truck, truck, truck," he said. "That's it. Now you have it." As we drove, several cars passed in both directions, each filled with Arabian men, with their white clothing blowing in the wind. Ali looked at everything carefully. Much of what he was seeing was for the first time. At one point, a Bedouin family with dozens of camels and hundreds of sheep and goats was crossing the road. Half a dozen cars were stopped, waiting for the road to clear, but all were patient as the tribespeople herded their animals. The Arabian people were well aware that within the space of a few years, they had come from being an underdeveloped, poor country to the threshold of becoming a wealthy, modern monarchy. People who had ridden camels and herded sheep last year now drove cars and trucks and built cities with the help of various companies from all over the world. Money earned from exporting oil was making Saudi Arabia the wealthiest country in the world. Except for people from remote villages like Ali's, life had changed dramatically for Saudi citizens. I turned off on a dirt road and drove toward the walled compound, sitting on a hill in the distance. As we approached the gates, an old Arab swung them open to let me pass. He waved at me and smiled a toothless grin. "That's Abdullah, our gatekeeper. He and one other Arabian work here during the day," I told Ali. The compound was composed of 22 stucco houses and 2 larger buildings that housed the dining hall and the recreation center. A concrete wall 9 feet high completely enclosed the area. It kept out the roving bands of baboons and other wild animals drawn by the smell of food. "Here we are, Ali. This is where I live," I said as we got out of the vehicle. He looked around at the buildings and cars parked in the lots. His eyes said it all. "Mr. Wayne, what is this? What is that?" Ali was curious and full of questions. I answered and explained the functions of various things. His biggest thrill was when I touched the light switch in my quarters. He blinked in amazement. "It is all too much for me to understand," he said. "In time, Ali, it will all seem perfectly natural to you," I assured him. As we walked outside, he looked at the houses and at a row of vans parked in front of the dining hall. "That is where we eat. Come, let's see what there is left over from lunch." The chef, a black giant of a man from Sudan with tribal scars etched into his cheeks, was cooking dinner with his 2 Korean helpers. He smiled at me and called out from the kitchen, "Who's your new friend, boss?" "This is Ali, son of Mustafa, from the village of Ezratu, down in the canyon." Switching to Arabic, the Sudanese called, "Welcome, Ali. Would you like something to eat?" Still looking at everything in wonder and amazement, Ali said, "Yes, I'm very hungry." "Well then, sit down and I will bring you today's special. It's curried chicken and rice with raisins, coconut, nuts, and pineapple garnish." Ali didn't have the faintest idea of what the chef was talking about, but he was ready for whatever there was to eat. Soon we were served plates of steaming chicken and a fragrant curry sauce, heaped over a bed of rice. The fruit and nut garnishes were generously sprinkled over the top. Ali placed his left hand on his lap and started eating with his right hand, using his fingers instead of a fork. "Here, like this," I said as I picked up a fork and started eating. Ali picked up his fork and tried. At first, he stuck himself in the lip, but soon he got the hang of it. After eating a second helping, Ali put down his fork and said, "Never have I eaten anything so delicious." The big Sudanese chef heard Ali and made a sweeping bow. We all laughed. I took Ali to the company workshop, where 2 Korean mechanics were hard at work on a Dodge van. I showed them my broken crank handle and asked if they could make another one, but stronger. They both stopped working on the task at hand to make me a new handle. As they turned on the welding torch, Ali watched every step. The men did not speak Arabic, but smiled broadly and let Ali hold the torch for a moment. Ali waved it around and laughed loudly. "There is so much to see and learn in the world. I must tell my father and brothers about everything." I left Ali with the mechanics to watch them make the handle while I gathered up some more equipment. When the strong new crank handle was finished, we drove back to the canyon. It was late afternoon when we got back. I fixed the winch, wound the rope back onto the spool, and examined the whole thing for other defects. It looked perfect. To preclude having to drive all the way back to the compound to sleep, I had brought along a 3-man tent, some sleeping bags, a camp stove, and some canned food. I had also picked up 2 walkie-talkies from the camp. I planned to sleep on the plateau and asked Ali if he wished to spend the night on the rim rather than making the tiring climb back down. Just as he was about to speak, the call to prayer echoed from the village below. Ali got down and did his evening ritual prayer, then stood on the rim and called down, "This is Ali, son of Mustafa. I will not return this night. Tell my father I am well." When the echoes subsided, a distant voice called back, "As Allah wills it, Ali, I will tell your father." It was one of the night shepherds near the cliff face who heard the message and called back. I showed Ali how to pitch the tent, started the camp stove, and cooked an old American favorite, beans from a can with hot applesauce on the side. The blackness of night was complete when we finished eating. Overhead, the stars shone with brilliant intensity, and a cold night wind made me pull my jacket collar close. Ali and I sat and talked for 2 hours with the flames of a campfire keeping us warm. I told him about America and Europe. I explained how King Khalid ruled over all Saudi Arabia and how the village of Ezratu was one of hundreds that made up the country. I was relating a story about the king when I noticed Ali was quiet. I looked across the firelight to see him fast asleep. I picked him up, carried him into the tent, and covered him with an unzipped sleeping bag. I went back out and crawled into my own bag under the stars. The night was cold and the air was sharp, but the clarity of the night sky was too much to miss. The night sounds faded as I snuggled deep into my bag. Tomorrow would come soon enough.